You get home from a Friday, you check your phone, and the number says $91. And you start doing the math backwards. You had what, 3 drinks? 4? You weren't the one ordering the fancy stuff. You split an appetizer. You are almost certain, in a court of law kind of way, that you did not personally consume $91 of anything. So let me say the thing nobody in personal finance will say to you. You're right. Not in a nice way, not in a treat yourself way. I mean, you are literally, factually, statistically correct. The drinking is not what's costing you. And I can prove it with a government spreadsheet. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks what the average American household spends on basically everything. And every year, they publish the alcohol line. Here's the number. $269 a year on alcohol at home. $374 on alcohol out. Call it $643 total for the whole year. That's it. That's the whole thing. And as a share of what the average household spends, alcohol comes in at 0.8%. Under 1%. Housing is 33%. Transportation is 17%. Food is 13%. Alcohol is a rounding error. It gets worse, or better, depending on how you feel about this. Since 2015, overall prices have gone up about 39%. Alcohol prices went up about 25%, which means alcohol has actually gotten cheaper relative to everything else in your life over the last decade. You are not going broke because of beer. Beer is one of the last things in America that didn't fully turn on you. So every finance channel telling you to cancel your Friday to fund your retirement, they're solving a problem that doesn't exist. $600 a year is not what's standing between you and a house. Which leaves us with the actual question. If the drinking is under 1% of the average budget, why did Friday cost you $91? And the answer to that is genuinely one of my favorite pieces of economics, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and it will follow you into every bar you ever walk into for the rest of your life. Let's talk about pour cost. Pour cost is the number every bar owner in America lives and dies by. It's simple. It's what the drink costs them to make divided by what they charge you. The industry standard is about 20%. 20%. Meaning every dollar you hand over for a drink costs that bar roughly 20 cents. 80 cents is gross margin. And that's the average. That's the boring, run-of-the-mill neighborhood spot. Liquor is worse. Standard markup on liquor in a bar runs somewhere in the range of 400 to 500%. Which is the highest of any category, which is exactly why the high-volume places pushing shots all night are some of the most profitable businesses in hospitality. Beer runs 200 to 300, and the cheap stuff, the macro cans, the ones so cheap wholesale it's almost funny, those can hit 500%. Wine is the one that'll actually make you laugh. Bars mark up bottles about 2.5 to 3 times wholesale, which produces that very specific experience of seeing a $45 bottle on a menu, going to the shop down the street, and finding the identical bottle for $15. Same bottle, same juice, same label. 3 prices, depending on where you are standing when you buy it. And there's the whole thing, right there. Look at how the same product gets priced across the chain. At the grocery store, the realized markup is something like 1.5 times. At a specialty or convenience shop, call it 2.5. At a bar, 3 to 4 times. Nothing about the bottle changed, only you moved. So sit with the actual implication of a 20% pour cost for a second. It means the alcohol is the cheapest thing in that building. It's cheaper than the rent. It's cheaper than the staff. It's cheaper than the sound system and the lighting and the guy at the door. which means the bar is not selling you alcohol. They can't be. If they were, they'd be a store. Stores sell things. Bars charge you 4 times what a store charges for a thing you could have bought at the store. What they're actually selling you is the room. They're selling you a chair, a Friday, a place to be at 11 p.m., and the specific social permission to be sitting there. The drink isn't the product. The drink is the ticket. It's the thing they hand you so that you're allowed to keep occupying the seat. And I want to be really clear that this is not me being cynical about bars. This is just what a bar is. That's the business. You are renting time in a room, and the room is charging you for it in liquid form. Now, here's where it stops being a fun fact and starts being your $91. Once you get that they're not pricing the drink, they're pricing you. Where you are, what time it is, how much judgment you've got left, and you realize the bar isn't the only one who worked that out. Everybody in a 100-yard radius worked that out. Think about the ride home. Rideshare pricing is not a mystery. Friday and Saturday, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m., is the single most reliable surge window in basically every market in the country. Multipliers routinely hit 2 to 3 times normal. Timing alone, same route, same distance, same everything, can swing a single ride by anywhere from $7 to $42. Bar close is not an accident. Bar close is a scheduled event. There's an algorithm that knows exactly when you're going to walk out of that room, and it's been sitting there waiting for you since 9. And it's not the ride. It's the food after the ride. It's the round you bought because somebody bought you one, and now the ledger has to be balanced. It's the tab that got split 4 ways when you drank 2 and Kevin drank 6. None of that is alcohol. All of it is on your card. That's the machine. The drink is bait. The drink is the cheapest thing they've got, and they price it at 400% anyway, because once you're in the room, everything within reach of you is priced against your inability to leave. Okay, so if that's all true, if the drink is cheap and the night is expensive, why didn't you catch it? You're not stupid. You look at your statements. Sometimes. Here's why. And this is the part that actually changed how I think about this whole category. You didn't catch it because you're measuring yourself against a normal that does not exist. There's a Duke economist named Philip Cook who wrote a book called Paying the Tab, and it's one of the most cited analyses of how Americans actually drink. He took a big federal survey, and instead of doing what everybody does, which is compute an average, he broke American drinkers into 10 equal groups, deciles. And what he found is genuinely strange. The bottom 30% of Americans don't drink at all. 0. Nothing. Then it stays almost flat for a while. 60% of American adults, 6 in 10, drink half a drink a week or less. That's not a typo. Half a drink. Per week. And then you get to the very top group, the top 10%. Cook's numbers put them at about 74 drinks a week. 74. 10 a day. That's the top decile. And by his estimate, that one group accounts for well over half of all the alcohol consumed in the country. He makes the point that if that top group just dialed back to the level of the group right below them, total alcohol sales would fall by around 60%. 60% of the entire industry rests on 10% of the people. Now go back to that government number I opened with, $643 a year. Do you understand what that number is now? It's a teetotaler and a guy drinking 10 a day, added together and divided by 2. It's not a description of a person. There is nobody out there living the $643 life. It's a statistical ghost. It's the average of 2 completely different populations that have nothing to do with each other, and it describes neither of them. And that average is doing real damage in both directions. If you're a light drinker, if you're in that 60% having half a drink a week, you have spent years feeling vaguely guilty about a line item that is not remotely your problem. You've been carrying anxiety about a number that has nothing to do with you. You could triple your drinking and it wouldn't register on your finances. But flip it. If you're on the heavy end, that same average is cover. Because you look up the national number and it says $600 and you go, well, that seems fine. Everybody drinks. The average told you you were normal. The average is the alibi. That's the trick. Not the markup, not the surge. The trick is that the number everybody reaches for to check themselves is a number that was mathematically designed to be useless to every single person who looks at it. So, how do you drink without going broke? It's not drink less. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, and honestly, if you're in that 60%, it would be terrible advice. You'd be giving up something you enjoy to save money you're not spending. It's this. Go find out which decile you're actually in. Not the national average, not the guy in the video, you. Pull 3 months of statements. And here's the part everybody gets wrong. Don't look for the bar line. The bar line is the decoy. That's the 20%. That's the cheapest thing in the transaction. Count the nights, the tab, the ride there, the surge on the ride back, the 1 a.m. food, the round you didn't need to buy, the delivery order the next morning because you weren't cooking, the Saturday you spent on the couch with a headache instead of doing the thing you'd planned. Add up the whole night, every night, for 3 months, and then divide by 3. That's your number. That's the only number in this whole video that means anything, because it's the only one that's actually about you. Maybe you run it and it's $80 a month, and you go, yeah, that's my friends. That's the best $80 I spend. Don't touch it. Great. Go drink. I mean that. Or maybe you run it and it's $600, and you sit there looking at a Tuesday you don't remember, $60 on a Tuesday, and you realize you have been quoting a national average at yourself for 9 years to avoid looking at exactly this. That's the whole trick. Not the markup, not the surge. The trick is that the number you were checking yourself against was never about you. Nobody at that bar is trying to take $600 from you. Nobody's plotting. They just built a room where the drink cost them 20 cents, and everything around it is priced against the fact that you don't want to go home yet. And then they let the average do the rest of the work. You can't unbuild the room. You can walk in already knowing your number. If this made you want to go pull up your statements, hit that like button. It genuinely helps. See you in the next one.